Greetings, folks. Nice to see you today. My name's Dustin Cormier. Welcome to How to Rock Astrology. Today we're going to be talking about what it's like when the Sun is in Libra and Mars is in Libra. First thing that needs to be said is that if these two are conjunct, meaning I'd say the Sun is within 8-ish degrees of Mars, what we have in that situation is combustion, which really kills the Mars energy in this situation. What happens there is that the Sun's desire to express harmony and aesthetic goodness, it's aggressive about it. So it almost like looks for things, makes things disharmonious in order to say, oh look, there's something for me to feel like I'm doing what I love about. So what always happens when the Sun is combust Mars, whatever sign it's in is kind of crunched a little bit. Particularly, I guess that's not necessarily true, but there's two malefics in this sign, so it can be kind of deadly. But if they are farther than 8 degrees apart, the Sun and Mars are together in a good way, and they actually enliven each other, and they even delight each other. In the Lajatadya Vashtas, I'm a Vedic guy, so I try to bring Vedic consciousness into this. So, this hurts the nature of Mars if they're really combust. A lot of the things that I can even say in this are going to relate. Maybe I'll just keep reiterating that if they're combust, this will be really bad for Mars. But if they're not, then it's like this. So, Mars in Libra, I don't know if I just said this, but check out our Mars in Libra video at the start of this series to get a little bit of a sense of what Mars is like in Libra without considering the Sun. Adding the Sun to this is an interesting vibe because, first of all, Mars is supposed to be the general of the Sun. The Sun is the king, Mars is the general, who does what it does in order to give the Sun what its ego, it's the primary ego in us seeks. And sexually speaking, this is the ringer of what the person deeply wants at an enriching Sun vitalizing level, a sexual erotic level. And it's the Mars that is going to be the ring around that rosy, the ring around the general who who maintains and receives and gets by its grabbing and its engineering, manifests what the Sun's kind of looking for. Now they're both looking for the same thing here, but they're kind of like two swords, just like they're mucking each other up because they're banging into each other. That can kind of be a thing, especially if they're combust, in which case the Sun always overtakes the Mars. But in any case, these two are both ruled by Venus here. The Sun being in the same sign as Mars is not always so terrible a thing. The Mars is doing better than the Sun here because, this is a neutral place for Mars. Mars is not, it's not an enemy or a friend. Venus, which rules Libra, is neither a friend nor an enemy to Mars. It's just neutral. And Mars is in the middle of its exaltation and debilitation. The closer Mars gets to Capricorn, the better. The closer Mars gets to Cancer, the worse. Cancer makes Mars too emotional. So here it can go either way. This sign combination leans heavily on the health of Venus in order to express itself. And the problem is that Venus here is likely to be close to its debilitation point, which is Virgo. Debilitation works by orb, of course, not just by sign. You can't just say, oh, my Venus is in Libra, so it's not debilitated. It's still very close to debilitation, although it's in its own sign. If Venus was in with all these three, It's not even necessarily a good thing. It's way too much energy in one place when the Sun, Mars, and Venus are together. It would denature the Venus a bit. But if Venus is in, like, Scorpio's not its favorite. Sagittarius would be good. But from here, like, Venus is in hot water in a lot of ways. It would be kind of okay in Leo, because then the Sun and Venus are in mutual yoga, but not really, because the Sun and Venus aren't good friends. It's part of why the Sun is debilitated in Libra. When the Sun is in Libra, it's thinking about the king of the chart, is thinking about how to enliven itself, how to enrich itself for the long run through the eyes of others. What would another person think is good for me? And the Sun kind of needs that sense of othership. It's looking to see what others like in order to be chipper and dapper, to wear lovely gowns, to have an aesthetic sense of other people. And this is the type of person that can even be pushy about that, because not only do they want it for themselves, but they want it. This ego energy of these two planets is emitting heavily. There's a lot of heat coming from here, and this person needs to express it through Libra, which is others, which is the world outside of itself. Libra is a sphere. I'm expressing Libra somewhere in my energy field, even if I don't have any planets there, right? So there's a heat energy coming through the quadrant of Libra, through the energy field space of Libra, which means that how this person deals with relationships is a little heated. They have so much desire to look good to others that they might even say with their partner, you know, we're such a good-looking couple, it really is cramping our style when you wear those shoes. Do you know that? It would be good for both of us if you would wear shoes that I like. This is the kind of egotism that can come from this person. If Venus is well placed, it will find a good conduit for this, but again, Venus is tough to find a good place for Venus in this combination, because right next door, you know, Venus never goes 2 signs farther than the Sun. So you've either got Venus in Libra, which the ideal thing would be if Venus... not really, because Venus is in the same sign as the Sun, and that's a bad thing. So Venus isn't good in Libra here. Venus it's in its worst place in Virgo. And right next door to that is Leo, and Leo's not going to be... Leo is probably the best place in this situation. Leo and Scorpio are kind of mano a mano. And even Venus and Sagittarius would be good. You know, any of these places are always bound to be sketchy. Venus would be better actually further out into Scorpio and Sagittarius. That's the ideal place. But in any case, you know, it's going to be hard to find a good Venus here, unless it's got good aspects. If it's in the 4th house, it's got good Shadbala. Positive friends are aspecting it, these kinds of things. If none of that good stuff is happening, then this could be a person who is a little bit pushy and aggressive when it comes to relationships. There's a desire to be appreciated for your diplomacy. There's the Sun is coming through Libra. The Sun wants to be ennobled and praised for how not passive. It's not passive per se, but how it can use its indirect command to enliven and enrich everyone's life at an aesthetic, cerebral level, at a graceful level. Look at what we're all doing because of what this person is adding to the mix. Look how refined and well it looks, and elegant, and even artful and creative. You know, there's a creativity. The creativity of the Sun bleeds into everybody. But, you know, it really leans on it. If there's not a situation where everybody has this cool, positive, good-looking, upbeat vibe, this person could be down in the dumps until they make that situation happen. But it's a pushy way, you know? So the thing is that, again, every sign combination can have its good side and its bad side. And when this sign is good, it's probably with lots of other air people. This person's bound to be sociable and is bound to bring the relationship out into the world where they can get the glory of the sun for others to see them as looking good, but also the relationship itself looking good. The sun is expressing itself through relationships. The sun wants glory, redemption of the soul, redemption of to feel like they're sacrificing for a relationship, which means they're putting a lot of eggs in that basket. And if the relationship's not doing well, they're going to be frustrated and they're going to try really hard to make the relationship go well, and that's going to muck it up because you got 2 malefics in Libra. So it's a catch-22 in a certain way. That's my Vedic-y sort of take on it. Let's get sexy. Let's talk about, regardless of the positives and negatives, let's take a look at the sexy nature of this combination. First, by looking at, through erotic astrology, the turn-ons and turn-offs of the sun in Libra. Sun in Libra, without considering Mars here. Turn-ons and turn-offs. A wise partner knows how to whet your appetite for lovemaking with subtle flirting and mildly provocative suggestions. Mildly provocative. It's like pushing a little bit, because there is a pushiness with Libra. It's an angular, it's a cardinal sign. It wants to be refined and graceful, but it wants to have something to be refined and graceful about. So when someone is being too much, it's like, oh, darling, you're too much. Don't stop, though, because I like telling you that you're too much. You get off on the sensual accoutrement of romance, such as sultry nightwear, silky sheets, and soft music. A few whispered words of desire speak volumes to you. Your lifelong fantasy of romantic courtship and ideal love inclines toward elegant sex with nothing crude or tacky to offend your good taste and delicate sensibilities. Because you're seeking perfection, you can create a bliss-filled fantasy in your mind that often seems more real than anything in the world around you that you can actually feel. Your ideal lover discovers the details of your dream scenario and then acts them out to you. Together, you devise new ways of sharing and increasing your sensual pleasure. Since balance is important to you, you yearn for an intimate union with just the right degree of give and take. Making love helps you to feel complete, and you're capable of putting your own needs on hold in order to please or accommodate your lover. This is why Sun in Libra is particularly tougher for men, the cis men sort of thing, because men generally tend to be the energy activator, the penetrating sort of instigator that's going forward, and the woman is the wise one who's like directing, like, where should we go with this flailing dick energy that us men have. A Libra man, you know, of all the signs that have a feminine sensitive attunement to it, it's the Libra is the one who's got the real legitimately debilitated sun. Which any airy woman somebody will find that useful and loving and attractive, but it always comes with this bane, this crutch of losing your own sense that you're worthy of being a person who can direct something in this relationship. For women, that's the same thing with this Libra sense too. Although there is little truly wild or abandoned in Libra's nature, erotic teasing acts as an enticing turn-on that adds spice and heightens your sexual ecstasy. A sexy striptease, deep enticing kisses, and languid stroking with a feather raise your temperature to a fever pitch. It's all these subtle things. The thought of using sex toys may shock you, but artfully employed, they intensify your lovemaking. Your brain is your most sensitive erogenous zone, and talking about sex and reading erotic literature with your lover turns you on, as does trying the sexy stuff you've been reading about and discussing. Ooh, let's get into it. Let's see if this works. You know, we've learned so much about this in this story. Let's try it out, baby. Oh, not everyone's as wily and Scorpio like me as I am about some things. I like to get excitable. So, we've just heard a little bit about the erotic nature of the sun in Libra, and both of these both these planets are in Libra, so it caters to a bit of both. But let's read it what it's like when we combine the sun in Libra. This is a reading of sun in Libra with Mars also in Libra. It's from the same book, Erotic Astrology by Phyllis Vega. Sun in Libra, Mars in Libra. Your genial disposition and willingness to compromise make you particularly easy to get along with. You thrive on the affection and attention of your mate, and you're easily influenced by his or her opinions and ideas. Your refined nature wants lovemaking to be serene and beautiful, and romance is as important to you as passion. You're especially turned on by thoughtful, romantic gifts such as wine, candy, or a bunch of flowers. Naturally thoughtful and considerate, you tend to put your bed partner's happiness and satisfaction ahead of your own, but you expect and hope for the same thoughtfulness and consideration in return. This is somebody who sets the vibe where we're both listening to each other, aren't we, love? And this is even somebody who's like secretly, especially with men, we might find a man in this situation who secretly wants to serve, to just go down at the Y just forever, just because I just want to serve you. I want to do what you love. Not only that, but to cerebrally. Like, that's more of a Virgo thing, to just serve. The man in this situation would want to find out what turns on the lover, and then find out how they can constantly go, I'm there again, baby. I'm here I come again with this thing that you love so much. And they secretly are okay with not being reciprocated for it. No, that's not the right way to say it. That's secretly what they want to do, is to serve in that way, or to bring, it's the other person being turned on that turns this person on. But that's not to say that the return for that same attention is not important. It's just that it's the primal thing that they want. And you will get it if you understand your nature as it is, especially if the Mars is not combust. This is a person who will vibe juicily with whatever, whomever. But if it is combust, if the Mars is combust, it'll be harder for this person to actively go about this mutuality, to listen to the lover, to communicate in the way that Mars is supposed to, because the sun is too busy giving you what you want. This is what you said you want. This is what I know. It's more about the sun wanting to express itself than it is about Mars tactfully organizing a situation that is loving for both. That's when the sun and Mars are far enough away, Mars has the space to not just let the sun overtake it, and it can organize and express itself and feel energized and revitalized from that. Harder to do when the sun is eclipsing Mars, where it's all about me performing for you. It's kind of like jerking off in front of a mirror in a certain way. But I digress. It can always be remedied if you are that person. I recommend that it would probably enrich your Libra sphere if you find some way to make room for Mars to do what Mars wants to do, which is to organize and to have a bit of even aggression in it. You know, this might even be a person for whom the sun eclipsing Mars means that the sun is debilitated and it's just, you know, this very low down bowing sort of like thing. And this might be a person who could use a little bit more Mars, a little bit more aggression. Depends on who you are, your gender, and how you relate to this whole thing. But I digress. Still a juicy sexual combination no matter what. Aesthetically sensitive and beautifully demonstrative and communicative. So I hope you guys dug that. I hope it has enriched your sex life. Let me know if it has in the comments. Subscribe, all that fun shit. I'm Dustin Cormier for How to Rock Astrology. See you guys on the flip side.